Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. It's a Wednesday. I worked the last couple of days. It was super hot. Today is humid and rainy and a lot cooler, which is nice. I am having a sewing day today. I have 3 projects that I'd really like to work on today. I've already started sewing on the first one. It is a bunting project, another bunting project. This is not how they'll look when they are hanging. I'm just chain piecing. And so at the moment I am sewing the second side of each of the triangles. There's a lot of random fabrics in there, including what I would consider some pretty ugly ones. A pretzel, that was obviously part of a panel of some kind. This is, this one's dead-eyed snowman. So yeah, quite the range of fabrics. I went through my 2 full scrap bags and I managed to cut enough triangles for 2 lengths of bunting, about 20 feet long probably. And I got it down to 1 bag of scraps. And then I also had to go into my cotton bins up there just to cut a few more. I think I've got 96 flags under construction right now. The reason for this, these are not for me. The funny thing was that the other day when Mr. Stitches and I were walking up the road on one of our daily walks, we saw one of our neighbours, other end of the road. He was cutting some trees, a few cedars out from his front yard and loading them onto his truck. And so we had a chat, and we've said hello to these neighbours a few times when we've all been out walking and our paths have crossed, but we've never introduced ourselves and never really had a conversation or much of a conversation before. However, he said to me, "I really love those flags you've got on your deck. Where did you get them?" And of course I said, "I made them. I'm sewing all the time." And he said, "Oh, I've been looking for something like that for a really long time." So it turns out they have a couple of gates, because they're on the corner lot. They have lilacs all the way down one side and a couple of gates in case they need to access with a vehicle or something. And because the gates are quite a lot lower than the lilacs, the deer jump over them into their garden. So we had this chat and I didn't think any more of it. And then a little bit later that day, I thought I could make them some bunting. So when we went out again in the car, I said to my husband, "Drive up past their house. If I see them, I'll jump out and ask them if they want me to make them some." And they were sitting in their carport. So I jumped out the car and I said, "So about that bunting, did you want me to make you some?" And I said I'd do it for nothing, as long as they weren't worried about what colour the flags were, because I was just going to go through my scraps. And they offered to give me some money for it, and I was like, "That's fine, I don't care." I went to Home Depot that same day and I got 2 more packs of this clothesline rope. It is a poly cotton clothesline. It's like a polyester core with a cotton outer. And I've used this for rope bowls and things like that, but I also used it for the bunting I have on my deck. And it's nice and strong, should last a really long time. It'll probably outlast the flags, because being cotton, they will probably fade and fray quite quickly. I did at least 2 sessions of cutting. My wrist is feeling a little achy today. I spent at least 2 hours or more cutting triangles. I then spent another hour sewing down, chain piecing down one side of all the flags. And then I cut them apart, and now I'm doing the second one. So I need to do the second side. Then I'll need to pink the edges. and just to try and minimize the fraying. And then what I do is I will zigzag them all to the clothesline rope. I'm going to have to go up and check the stuff I already made to make sure of the gap I left between the flags. It was only a few inches, I think. Didn't want them too spaced out. So even if I don't have enough flags to make 20 feet, I can do it less than that and then just extend the rope either end so they've got plenty to tie with. But I think I've got lots. So this is a great scrap buster. It's been brilliant. And yeah, there's a few fabrics in here that I consider quite ugly. Actually, there was one that I considered too ugly for this. Where is it? I'll just grab you a piece of it. So this one, I don't know why I ever bought this fabric. It's just awful. It's green and orange with black stripes. It looks like hazard warning fabric, doesn't it? And I did actually cut rather a lot of these. But yeah, they don't fit. They don't fit with the rest of them. So I think I shall probably use them for myself, because I did want to have another string of bunting for my own deck, but not for the neighbours because it was just too ugly. I'm going to get on and sew these. Other plans for today. I would really love to sew the string piece blocks together. Again, where are those? Here's my stack of 36 string pieced blocks. I decided to do a different layout from the one I showed you last time. And I just need to put them on the floor again and just take a grayscale photo. There is a very dark one. It's very obviously darker than the rest. Maybe it's this one. But one of them definitely shows up in the photos as being super dark. So I'm going to put that one on the corner. And then I can sew these guys together. I'm not ready with backing yet. I have not been to the thrift shop or the fabric shop. The fabric shop probably won't happen. Don't want to fall into the trap of buying more stuff just because I'm at the fabric store. So I think I will join all these together. I'll give it a press and put it aside until I can find some suitable fabric that's cheap somewhere. And then the third thing I want to make, I have in mind an upcycled denim bag, probably a tote bag. And I want to combine my love of upcycled denim with my love of building scrappy fabric. So I have sketched out what I want to make, and I'm hoping I have time for that as well today. So I don't intend to finish the bunting today. I think after I've done the second row of stitching on the flags, I'll put that project aside. I'll deal with the quilt top, and then I will get on with the upcycled denim bag. I feel like I want to progress with all of them. And I also want to film the denim bag one as a separate standalone video, because why not? Rather than a vlog. So I'll talk to you again a bit later. Okay, you've got a headless me. I'm just in the process of ironing my quilt top that I just put together. It's a lovely temperature today. I already said that, I know, but I've got my window in my sewing room open. It's cloudy, it's breezy. I can't figure out whether it's actually raining right now, but to have a bit of air movement through here is amazing. I just realised I'm going to be ironing on the interfacing. Maybe I'll just make it a bit less hot. One of my squares was definitely the right size of 10 inches, but for some reason I got to the seam matching part and it was way off. I remeasured it just to be sure because I couldn't believe it was so off. It was right, but it didn't match. But I think that this pattern, this design is sufficiently busy. It's not going to matter. I'm getting a little snackish, so I think now that I've done two of the things that I wanted to do today, sewing the second side of the bunting and getting this quilt top piece together, I think it's time to pop upstairs for a little break. And then I can start on the other thing I wanted to do. I don't know if you watch Diane Spencer-Ogg's bag making videos, but if you don't know who she is, Spencer-Ogg is her design name, and she designs really, really lovely bags. And the patterns, some are free, some are paid, most are paid. And she usually does a video tutorial with them. And when she does, she always has a tea break. So she'll go and make herself a cup of tea and get a biscuit or a cookie or some sort of other snack to remind you that it's a good idea to have a break when you're sewing. This is certainly colourful. Very, very colourful. Try and make this neat underneath so it's not all lumpy. Okay, we can go maximum hot now. I've talked to my son about having a new bed in his room and maybe an armchair in the corner, but I haven't told him that I have in mind to give him a quilt to go on the chair. So I hope he likes it. This is going to take me a while. I haven't been using my ring light for the first part of this video because I had my phone charging. So it's been daylight plus that crappy overhead light. But I will have to make sure to use it later on in the video because I do not like the light when I don't have the extra nice white light of the ring light. I managed to lose one of my microphones. I had it to the left of my sewing machine, and with all of the pulling fabric around and stuff, I think I might have swept it onto the floor. I can't find it anywhere now. Luckily, I have a second. It'll show up. Did I ever tell you how much I hate using ironing boards? This thing is so wobbly. It drove me crazy trying to get this done. Anyway, so I have pressed it. I'll try and show you as much of it as possible. It's 6 squares by 6 The squares are 10 inches raw edged, so they'll end up about 9, a little under 9.5 finished, I think. And the piecing is done. So I'm going to fold this and put it somewhere out of the way till I can do the next step on it. There we go. That's the quilt and the bunting worked on today. It's a rainy day, which is a relief after the last couple of days of hot sun. And the apricot tree is full of fruit. I just went down there and picked a bowl full of apricots. It feels really early, but they were really orange. So if necessary, I can let them ripen up for a day or two inside the house and get eating. And here they are. They were a good size this year too. Last year we had absolutely zero fruit. The whole valley had a really, really bad year for apricots and peaches. But this year we're in luck. Well, in addition to working on bunting and quilt squares this week, I have been constructing a denim bag. And I've done a whole separate video about it, which I'm planning to finish editing today, Friday, and get it published today, so that by the time you see this vlog, this won't be a new thing, because I didn't want to have a spoiler on the vlog for something I hadn't published yet. And I'm glad I did it as a separate video, because it was a lot of work and a lot of recording and a lot of editing. Yeah, it took three days basically of sewing, because I had happened to have a few days off in a row, and I didn't want to rush it, and because the scrap fabric building process was a slow one. So I'm going to show you this, and if you want to know everything I did to make it and see the whole process, it'll be in the other video that I'm publishing today. I don't know what the date is, but it's July 2025, and it will be coming up in between vlog 104 and vlog 105. I'll be putting it in the playlists for projects and scrappy fun, so it'll come up in those two playlists on my YouTube channel, and if I remember, I will link it underneath. Having said all that, here's the insanely complicated bag I've made the last few days. I had in mind, I can't remember where I saw it. I know I saw something similar where someone had built the scrap fabric and then cut shapes out of denim. I cannot remember who it was, and I can't remember the exact method they used. So I wasn't copying them. I was just taking that tiny bit of inspiration and making it my own, which is what we all should be doing, right? This is how inspiration happens. So for this front part, I had to build an entire panel of scrap fabric, most of which you cannot even see. And then I laid the denim over the top with the holes cut out, so you can just see little peekaboo windows. And then for the back panel, I made a scrappy jeans shape pocket. It was not a pocket originally. I used a pocket as a template to make that shape, and I applied it to that side. Rather than do my classic boxy bottoms, I used a gusset that runs all the way down the side, across the bottom and up the other side. So that way I felt like I could really be sure that the depth was going to be exactly what I wanted it to be, because sometimes when you box bottoms, you're really not sure exactly what size they're going to turn out. Rather than use denim handles, which was my original plan, I went for the pink because, you know, there's pink in here and it picks that up. I put a magnetic snap inside and a slip pocket. So this fabric is one of the ones I bought, and I just had it in the stash purely to have as a lining, because it's not the sort of fabric I'd put on the outside of a bag. It's not that exciting. And I just happened to have the perfect size of offcut right here when I had cut the 2 panels out plus the gusset. This little rectangle of fabric was the perfect size for a slip pocket. It was meant to be. So I am absolutely delighted with this bag. So as I say, if you want to see the whole kit and caboodle, it'll be on the other video. And I will probably be adding to this blog, maybe with a bit of knitting or something. So it won't be going up until the weekend. It's Saturday. It's going to be a hot one. As soon as I woke up this morning, I was already too hot. So I'm going to whine about that for a minute. Yeah, there's a few things we could have gone out to do today, but to be honest, we don't really want to bother. The recycling can wait. The shopping can wait. I'd rather be here in my sewing room anyway. So let's see. I stayed up late last night. I was buzzed from finishing that denim bag. And I was upstairs and it was getting to about 8 o'clock, and I thought, or maybe even later than 8 o'clock. And I just thought, I'll go downstairs and I'll just fix that flag that had the folded over a bit, and it needs just a tiny bit of unpicking and restitching and then finishing off the pinking. And then, of course, I thought, well, while I'm down here, I might as well just attach them to the clothesline. So I did. Oh, slightly weepy eyes, honestly. I swear that cream I put on my face sometimes makes my eyes a bit watery. And let's not talk about sunscreen that makes your eyes sting, because that sucks. Anyway, I'm going to show you it. I've put it in a shoebox. I have 2 very lovely new shoeboxes because I invested in 2 new pairs of Skechers and 2 new pairs of insoles this week, which wasn't cheap, but it's been a really long time since I bought new shoes. And for the 2 new pairs I brought into the house, I threw away 3 old pairs. One of the pairs is going to be for indoors and one is for outdoors, because I just so fed up with this plantar fasciitis. I feel like if I wear shoes all the time, it might help. Everyone says so. So that's what I'm doing, which sucks because I love being barefoot, but oh well. All right, so I allowed 2 feet of clear clothesline before I started attaching the flags. And then the way I attached them was with a wide zigzag, 5 wide and 2 long. And I didn't want it so wide of a zigzag that it just went right over the clothesline. I needed it to pierce the clothesline at least some of the time. So 5 it was. And I just put the clothesline down. I lay the clothesline on top of the flag to zigzag it, and it goes through the machine like a dream. No struggling whatsoever, no issues. So here we go. I did alternate which way around. So for every flag I made, I had a bright or dark side and a light side. And so I alternated dark light along the string. And I made 98 of them, which turned out to be far too many for the neighbour's bunting, because what I needed, or the aim was to get 20 feet of flags, 2 feet either end, plus 2 feet either end for tying. I thought that would be stacks for them. And I ended up using 34 flags on each string. And I've got 30 left for myself. So all of these I still have. And in theory, I should still have half of a spool of the clothesline rope so I could make myself some more bunting to go somewhere around my house. I haven't decided where yet. To think about that. I could not get to sleep last night. I was so buzzed after all this sewing. I had had a Yorkshire tea at like 5 o'clock, and I got into bed and I lay there. I was like, I'm not sleepy. Anyway, let's talk about bunting. So I'll just show you the string of bunting. This is string 1. There are some real outliers in here, like this one is more bright than I think just about any of the others. But I was using scraps. And the only one I weeded out, as I showed you earlier, was that awful stripy fabric, which I thought was just too ugly. Yeah, I found this one rather odd too. This one, plus a couple of the other ones, are from a panel that I was given in a pile of stuff from a friend, I think. So, string number 1 finished. I even gave them a little haircut across the top last night just to get rid of the worst of the fraying. So I really hope the neighbours like this. It's more of a functional thing, really. I mean, yes, it's decorative, but it's functional in that it should stop the deer from jumping over the fence into their garden, or over the gate. This thread's getting caught up in here. So that's it, done. I'm going to put it back in the shoebox with one of my business cards, which looks like, well, I can't really show you what it looks like because it has my phone number and my last name on. Here we go. That's sort of what my business card looks like. It has my YouTube name on there and my Ko-fi link. And if they insist that they want to pay me something, maybe I'll just say go to my Ko-fi and tip me there, or I don't know, just buy the clothesline. I'm still, even though I did the markets last year, I'm still uncomfortable taking money for my things, which I know is stupid, but there you go. Or maybe I'll just say subscribe to my YouTube channel, go watch a couple of videos, boost my channel a little bit. Thank you very much. I'm doing it for the love of sewing, and of course for getting rid of some scraps, because as you know, they can take over and start to feel a little threatening sometimes. Feel like you're going to drown in scraps. So I'm really happy that I have all of these ready to go. So I think the next thing to do will be to make a string out of these and put them somewhere to prettify another part of my house. And then that'll be it for bunting for a while. I think I will have burnt out from bunting for a bit. So apart from all this sewing I've done this week, which has been amazing, and I've really enjoyed it, I actually finished 3 books. 3! It's amazing. I was surprised how fast I burned through these, but they were obviously quite good books because I read them so quickly. The first one was Kristin Hannah, Home Front it's called. And what's that one about? Honestly, by the time I've read a couple of books, I've sort of replaced the memories of the first book with the second or the third. Anyway, it's about a woman who was in the military. She married, she had kids. She did a sort of a guard thing. It was called guard, in that she was doing things around locally rather than being deployed. She flew helicopters, and then she was having some issues with her husband, and then she got deployed to Iraq. And so it's a story about their relationship, what happened to her while she was over in Iraq. And yeah, good read. Kristin Hannah's a good author. She was recommended to me by a friend, and I do enjoy her books. The second one I read was 27 Minutes by Tate. And This is about some young people, some high schoolers, who one night, the guy was driving a truck, there was an accident on a bridge, his sister died, but there was a question of why he took 27 minutes to call the police. And so it's all about them, their families, the past, the present, because the book is set like 10 years later, when they are arranging a memorial for the girl who died. And so you've got flipping again between past and present. And finally, you find out what really happened in like the last 2 pages. So, yeah, reasonably good read. And then the one I finished last was A Good Half Gone by Tarryn Fisher. And oh, look at the lovely large print on that. Isn't that amazing? So much less of a struggle with the large print. I know I've said that before. Then I'm going to be 63 next month. So, you know, large print is a boon. Good Half Gone. Set of twins. One of the twins got kidnapped when they were 15. The police thought she was making up a story and that the sister was maybe just a runaway. She had to try and convince them that she really did see this girl bundled up in a vehicle and taken away. So this is another switch between past and present. Present is that the remaining twin has qualified as a therapist, a psychotherapist, and is following up a belief that the person who she believed killed her sister, even though there's no body been found, she believes this man killed her sister, and she wants to get to him, but he's in a hospital for the criminally insane. So that was quite an interesting one, and not only that, but unpredictable. I like a book that's unpredictable, and you can't just see where it's going and like finish the book yourself in your head before you get there. I like the ending of this one. It was definitely unexpected. That's all I'll say about that. So that's pretty much us updated for Saturday. I am absolutely cooking here, even though I'm downstairs in the basement, which in theory should be cooler. No, it's not. So if you've watched the video that published at midnight last night, Friday night, Saturday morning, 11th, 12th of July, you will have seen the bag I made, I showed you just before, and finished. And you will also have seen the other piece of fabric that I built from scraps with the tulle on top and the stitching, which I didn't use. So I have currently got this fabric here, nice big chunk of pink and blue fabric, which currently doesn't have a use. I will think of something. I'm going to have to think of something fun to do with it, because it's definitely not going to go to waste. It's very pretty. I love the pinks in it. Absolutely love it. So I will make a note. I have my big whiteboard up here, and I like to keep a note of my works in progress and my ideas and plans on there so I don't forget. So at some point I will come up with an idea for this. Maybe I'll go look at Rain Vermont's YouTube channel and see, just remind myself some of the things she's made with her scrap fabric. There's a new channel I subscribed to this week, Kooky something creations, all starting with a K. Cool Kooky Creations, I think it is. I'll link it underneath the video. She is so fun. She's British. That's a point in her favor. She is quite kooky, which I like. She has a nice cheerful attitude, and she obviously likes playing with scraps and textiles, just like me. And I've watched a couple of her videos now, and I really like them. So I'll definitely link her in the description, and then you can maybe go check her out. I do like to share when I find good channels to watch. So I think that's it for now. I will add more to this video when I have had more fun. I did a bit of knitting today, so I thought I'd show you the progress on the Fall Bluff Raglan sweater. It's coming along well, considering I haven't actually touched it in at least 3 days, but it grows fast when I do work on it because it's bulky yarn, of course. So I decided to stop where I was because I was almost at the end of another ball of yarn. So I'll tip you down so that you can see the table. And I'm also going to, now that I have got to the end of another ball of yarn, I'm going to do a quick review of what I've got left in here, because I'm not sure how many balls of the deep ocean I have used. So here we are so far. I started knitting up here on the neckline, the neckband, with the smaller needles, the 8mm needles, and then I changed to the 10mm for the body, and worked down the yoke, split off for the sleeves. And so since you last saw this, I have done, I think, probably about 6 more inches on the body. I'm supposed to work till about 10 inches from the underarm, I think, so I'm about 8 inches down, so that's good. There's a couple of uneven bits in the knitting. I've tried to make sure to change my balls of yarn under the arms. So where I have started a new ball, I've just got it loosely knotted at the moment. Obviously it'll get properly tensioned and woven in at the end. But in case there was any sort of wobble in the tension on the stitches, by the time I had done that, I thought I don't want it right on the front of the sweater. Unfortunately, there was one point at which I hit a knot and I had to cut it out, and that was, of course, right on the front. Murphy's Law says that's where it's gonna land. So let's put this aside for a minute and tip this yarn out. The yarn is Yarn Smith's Create Super Chunky, and I had bought 10 balls of the deep ocean, which is very satisfying because they basically sent it in sealed bags because I had bought a job lot of it. So cross fingers, I'm going to have enough of this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 5 full skeins, and I've got a partial plus the swatch cap that I made. So if I needed to, I could unravel the swatch. So I've got 6 balls left. Oh, that's okay. That should be fine. These little bits are where I stopped before the end of the yarn because, as I said, I didn't want to have to do a join right in the middle of the front of the sweater or in the middle of the back. So I've got some little bits here, and we'll see whether I need those. Hopefully I won't need them. So I've still got quite a bit of knitting to do on the body, plus the ribbing. And then I've got the sleeves to do. And I can't remember whether the sleeves are tapered to the cuff. If they're not, I think I will create some taper because the armholes look quite big at the moment. So my contrast yarns, that's the word I'm looking for. Purple Orchid, dark turquoise, doesn't look particularly dark for turquoise, but anyhow. burnt orange, mustard yellow, and pink berry. Now the plan with these, the idea, the design from that dream I had, if you'll remember. Let's just get the sweater back again. So the plan for the front of the sweater was to use my contrasts to create a kind of explosion of colour from a centre point. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, whether it's going to be crocheted on or embroidered on. But that's the plan. Now, if for any reason I struggle to have enough of this, say I need, let's see, when did I last introduce a new ball? This could be a bit scary. Might find myself short. Okay, so let's just say I had one ball of yarn for the rest of the body. That would leave me 2 balls for each sleeve, plus a bit over. I hope that's going to be enough. Cross fingers. So that's where I'm at with that project right now. Of course, having this much yarn in my lap when it's this warm isn't always the best idea. And I don't have a lot of staying power when it comes to this knitting right now, so I'm not picking it up every day. I found a little project to do with my pink scrappy fabric. I remembered that Rain Vermont had made a zipper pouch out of part of her fabric, and I just took the big piece and kind of folded it and had a look at it and eyeballed for proportions. I thought I'll make a pouch where I just cut one long tall piece, fold it up, add the zippers to the top, line it, all that sort of thing. I found a scrap of this lovely pink in my stash. It wasn't a scrap necessarily. I mean, it was quite a chunky piece, but the widest I could cut was 8.5 inches. So I ended up cutting a piece 8.5 by 12.5. So now I have a nice usable piece still to make something else with, plus a little strip to make a pin with, maybe. I don't know, we'll see. So I had a little fight with the rainbow zipper. I haven't put a zipper in a while, but I really love this rainbow zipper. It has pink, orange, green, yellow, blue on the teeth. Of course, the pink and the blue, which I would have liked to have positioned just right on this bag, weren't quite in the right place. And so I trimmed a bit off, feeling really bad for wasting some. But I trimmed a couple inches off. I'm going to have to find something super small to use this on so I don't waste it. So that the color of the zipper teeth would go with my pink bag. Well, I had a bit of a problem with it because when I put the zipper tabs on, actually it might have been this piece I cut. Hang on. I think this piece might have been the one I cut off, although it has pink and blue in it, so I'm not sure. Anyway, I have 2 little pieces that have now not completely gone to waste, but are going to have to be used on something so they don't go to waste. I noticed something I'd never done before. I put the tabs on, and I used this method where you cut one long strip, the width of your zipper, and I cut it 6 inches. It was way too long, but anyway, folded it around so right side of the fabric touching the zipper end, folded it over, sewed a 1/4 inch seam, and then folded the 2 bits back on themselves, and it makes a nice easy zipper tab because you don't see the stitching, so it makes a really nice result. It also makes a not too bulky zipper tab that goes into the seam. Well, when I had done that, I noticed that on one side of the zipper, there was some filament thread sticking up. And I thought, I've never seen that before. And when I pulled it slightly, the zipper was actually coming unstitched on one side from the tape. That's never happened to me before. So I cut the unstitched bit off, and I now have these 2 scraps to use, which meant I then had to cut a third piece. I had cut the bit off that I didn't want. I then messed up the bit I was using, and then I went to a third piece. So I wasn't going to fussy cut it because I'd already wasted some zipper tape. And so I ended up with blue, yellow, and green. And I know it doesn't really go with the pink bag, but it's still fun. So this was, 8.5 inches wide. So the finished width is probably 8, because it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance, because it wasn't a very large, heavy duty bag. And so with the 12.5, when I folded it, you will have ended up with like a 6-inch deep. And I put a silver pull on the zipper. I do have some black pulls as well, but I decided this needed a silver one. And I think the tabs came out pretty nicely. As I say, it's a very, very easy method of adding tabs. It does limit your side access into the bag. Oh, lots of birds flying by. Wonder what that was about. I do know that there's quite a few birds of prey around at the moment. What were they? I don't know if they were kestrels or whatever. Probably, because the last couple of times I've been out walking, I've been hearing them calling. So I think there's a mating pair, and they are calling to each other as they're flying. And don't always hear that. So that was interesting. Anyway, I'm digressing again. So there's the lovely pink lining. And as you see, you lose a little bit of access on each side, but it'll be fine. And I didn't use any double-sided sticky tape or anything. I sewed the zipper to the outer fabric first with a smaller seam allowance, and then sewed the lining on the other side with the full seam allowance according to the zipper foot edge. And I didn't do any top stitching. Like I normally always do top stitching, but because this is a bag which has a fold here, I had a horrible feeling that if I went and top stitched the first side and then pulled it around and sewed it down and tried to top stitch the second side, I'd have a hell of a time about it. If I could have done it where I split the zipper tape, which is something which is really nice that you can do with zipper tape by the meter, you can split the 2 pieces, sew them to either end of your fabric piece, do all of the sewing and top stitching, and then you bring it all together. But then you don't have tabs. So it's a toss-up. Do you want tabs, or do you want the zipper to go all the way to the edge and into the seam, which can be a little ugly sometimes, depending on, how you do it. I do like the tabs. So there we go. A finished pouch. And if I go through the stash and find another piece of fabric, or another piece of lining, rather than cutting into new yardage, it's nice to be able to use up smaller pieces that are already in the stash and already maybe have been cut into. I could make another one. It would be, let's see, about the same size, maybe a teeny bit bigger. Or I'll come up with something else for that. But I think I've done so much sewing. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is like the 4th day of sitting at my sewing machine. I think I really need to take a break from the sewing machine. Maybe make myself have a whole day off from sewing tomorrow and focus on the sweater. Also, there is an event coming up in a couple of months that I am volunteering with. Again, This is my 5th year of volunteering with this particular event. And whilst I wasn't on the committee over the winter, I have rejoined the activity to help with the silent auction. And that means a lot of work, a lot of emailing, a lot of chasing people up, a lot of going to collect their donations from them, whatever they donate, approaching businesses, asking for stuff. I don't mind doing it now. This is my 3rd year of doing the silent auction, so I don't mind asking for donations now. It doesn't bother me. But that's going to take up quite a bit of my time over the next couple of months. And I need to allocate a slot of time to that every now and again to make sure I stay up to date with it. Don't worry, I'll still have plenty of time for crafting. I know I will. I'm going to wind everything up now because I know this has got long enough for a vlog. If you watched the denim bag video that just aired, I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you come back to keep watching more of my crafty adventures. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon.